I call to order the Rosemount Planning Commission meeting for Tuesday, May 26th. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Are there any additions to tonight's agenda?
There are no additions, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Is there any input from the audience on tonight's agenda? Seeing none, we'll move forward to our consent agenda. Our consent agenda this evening includes our minutes from our April 28th, 2026 regular meeting. Are there any comments or questions on the consent agenda? Seeing none, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
It has been moved by Commissioner Kenninger, seconded by Commissioner Reed. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Consent agenda is approved. We have one item under old business this evening, and that is a request by ZAMIRA SELYUKOV for an amendment to the Rosemount zoning map to rezone properties on 132nd Court from R1 low density residential to R2 low to medium density residential. And Anthony, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is a continuation of a public hearing item that was heard at the last Planning Commission meeting regarding a rezoning request for a subdivision on 132nd Court. Very briefly, going through this summary of the request would be to rezone the subdivision from R1 low density residential to R2 low to medium density residential to allow for 2-unit duplexes and twin homes. There are currently 3 of the properties that have that status, one of which is an illegal duplex with a lower unit that was not permitted at the time those improvements were made. That one would be the central starred parcel here. There's also 2 twin homes that were constructed as such in the 1960s. Those would be considered a legally non-conforming uses, so they can continue to exist, although they cannot be improved or expanded. So then this would be the proposed rezoning here of the site from R1 to R2. There was a little history provided to the commission at the last meeting about this neighborhood. It had originally been a rural residential development with well and septic systems serving each parcel individually. When city services were provided to this neighborhood, it was rezoned from rural residential to R1 with no consideration given to the fact that there were 2 duplexes already located within that site, thus creating 2 nonconformities. So since the last meeting, staff did do some discussion amongst itself about ways that we could find that maybe would accommodate the applicant's goal of having a duplex on their property. As the commission may recall, the applicant did purchase the property. It was marketed as a legal duplex with 2 active rental licenses. That was not true. None of the work to make it into a duplex was received permits. So given that there were already existing twin homes on the site, staff had originally proposed and advised going through the rezoning process, but the commission did ask staff to identify any potential paths forward that would allow for the applicant to continue with a legal duplex on their property without rezoning the entire site. So just to provide a little bit of background and context of the different types of dwelling units. In addition to twin homes and duplexes, the city does allow for accessory dwelling units. This was added to the code with the 2024 zoning code update in response to the fact that there are a lot of requests from residents to essentially make an apartment in their basement or above a garage for a family member. There is actually nothing that would preclude someone from just adding a kitchen to their basement and having it function like a separate dwelling unit for their kids, or even a well-equipped wet bar in a basement could function as a kitchen. with the right appliances. So adopting the code to allow for accessory dwelling units that are all internal. So these would be internal to the structure, not a freestanding structure, with some standards, which I've laid out here before you. The primary one that would affect the applicant's situation, as conceivably her basement apartment could be considered an accessory dwelling unit, is the fact that it's larger than 800 square feet. That's the maximum size for the zoning that the zoning ordinance allows. I spoke with the applicant about potentially reducing the size of the unit to that 800 square foot maximum, which was not feasible for the applicant. Because while a use variance isn't allowed, a dimensional variance there is a process for. So staff would suggest that there is the possibility that a variance could be issued to increase the maximum size of a dwelling unit, an accessory dwelling unit, to 1,000 square feet, which would be just above what the applicant's floor plans show for that lower unit. There would have to be some findings made to approve a variance. The 5 findings here are listed before you. Staff does find that there could be a case made that finding number 4 could apply to this, as the unique circumstances are not created by the current property owner. If that is something that the Planning Commission finds to be the case, we could move forward with drafting some findings and moving through the variance process and having the Planning Commission adopt a resolution approving a variance to increase that minimum area for an accessory dwelling unit. Other options thrown about by staff were to just change the standard for accessory dwelling units to increase the maximum to 1,000 square feet, or just have it be no more than 75% of the principal dwelling unit. That did not really seem to be the best course of action, as accessory dwelling units should typically be somewhat smaller in scale. 800 square feet still does allow for a pretty good sized living space inside an existing home. So that being said, staff still believes that the rezoning would be the ideal path forward, considering that it is consistent with the comprehensive plan. The rezoning would eliminate non-conforming status of the existing duplexes on the site. But again, dimensional nonconformities could be addressed via the variance process. So staff does continue to recommend rezoning, but if the commission believes that findings can be made to support a variance, the commission should direct staff to move forward with that process with the applicant drafting a resolution with those findings for approval at its next meeting. As well as passing a motion recommending the city council deny the rezoning requests, so that that actual request can be resolved and closed at the next meeting. From a timing standpoint, I know the applicant has indicated that they would like to get a move on some of the work that they're working on and planning on for their house. It would actually only add one week to the approval process. A variance only goes to the Planning Commission, so it would be done by June 23rd, whereas if the Planning Commission recommended approval of the rezoning request, it would go to the council on June 16th. So it's really only a 1 week difference from what would actually be the case. So staff is happy to speak to any of this with the commission. So staff would just like to receive direction on how the commission thinks we should proceed. And also, if you do decide to pass a motion recommending denial, verbalize some findings that we can put in the council's resolution of denial that would be recommended by the commission.
Thank you, Anthony. There are questions for Anthony at this time.
Anthony, just if we go the route of the variance, what are the risks there, concerns that you would have?
Well, there is a specific case here that somebody bought an illegally improved property. The risk would be that anyone else who also bought a property like that, conceivably there'd be a finding. It's not really a precedence because we're not a court of law in that respect, but one would, I guess logic would go that the finding could also be made for them as well. So from an impact, a broader impact, it's much less than changing the zoning ordinance to allow for larger accessory dwelling units just across the board. But it's not an ideal situation that the applicant found themselves in. So I don't see there being a likelihood of this,
Playing out another
going across the city. Just like I would say staff does not see the likelihood of every single property in this neighborhood being converted to a duplex being that likely either.
Thank you.
Can accessory dwelling units be used for rentals?
Mm-hmm.
So, and then I'm just trying to think back where we had something come through where the property owner wanted to build an extra house on their property, and then the current property was being used essentially as an accessory dwelling unit. We, I think, provided a variance to allow for it to be larger than the normal footprint for that, but we told them that they couldn't rent that out. So I'm just trying to understand kind of the difference here.
So that was an accessory structure, not an accessory dwelling unit.
Okay.
So that's the key difference
Yep.
there.
Anthony, talk a little bit about, obviously, if we go the variance route, it doesn't do anything to address the two homes that are there. But a couple key differences is those two homes were built that way, whereas this home was not built as a duplex, but was later converted into a duplex without any permits.
Correct.
Okay. But the two that were built many years ago as duplexes are legal non-conforming, but they can't do improvements. So what is
They can't expand.
They can't
really.
expand,
They
but
can replace the
they
windows.
can replace stuff, they can clean it up so they can't expand it, but they can do new
Maintain.
siding, they can maintain what's there.
Yes.
Because I think we heard from some of the neighbors that maybe those properties needed some attention as well. I just don't want to have them coming back in so that they can do updates to them that then would need
Right.
a variance or something done for them as well. Okay, so
Yeah.
they would be able to maintain the existing property but not expand it.
Correct.
Okay. Whereas if we did the rezoning, then they would be able to technically expand it.
Yeah, in the sense that they could add additions, not
Right.
necessarily add units.
Right, not add units, but they could add additions to it. Okay. Other questions?
Can you talk a little bit about, you talked about us not being, judicial, so the fact that we don't have, precedents necessarily, but, my thought goes to, well, if I do something wrong on my property, then I just transfer it to the Jeff Ellis Trust instead of Jeff, and now all of a sudden my trust is the property owner, it's not me. Like you say, I don't foresee a lot of people doing that, but I'd struggle with that finding with the way that provision of the code reads. It says we need to, that it's the landowner because the landowner did this. It was just not this landowner, but a previous one. So I'd struggle with that, finding.
Certainly there could be an argument made that the unique circumstances that are to the property that are creating the need for the variance were created by the landowner and that they purchased the property. I mean, there's that. But yes, that's a good point, and that's kind of what staff has been weighing with as well. I think ultimately, like you said, the likelihood of something like that happening, we see illegal duplexes or dwelling units. It isn't the first time we've had a garage where there was a home. Sometimes we catch them in the marketing in the real estate. You'll get a call from a realtor that says, hey, they say there's a guest house or whatever. And we have to say, well, no. And then go back to the listing agent and say, hey, you can't be marketing it like this. So it's kind of the way it is.
Yep.
We're never going to catch everything, but yeah.
Other comments, questions? So we've got two things in front of us.
Oh, if we have do we have a public?
We do not.
We do not.
No.
Okay. Well, I'll say something.
Yes. Go ahead.
And my viewpoint is kind of the same as it was last time. I think I'm not in favor of the zoning change. I mean, I did some quick research online of that neighborhood, and it looked like 5 properties in that cul-de-sac have been purchased in the last 10 years. So in essence, you get 5 people who have purchased a home with the assumption that it is single-family residential R1. And so, to change that, to me, again, there has to be really extraordinary circumstances, and I don't think this is the case there. I would be in favor of the variance here.
Yeah, I appreciate the due diligence that staff has done too to kind of come up with an alternative solution that I think I can see where it meets the 5 criteria, and I think this is a solution that still gives the other residents some peace of mind that their cul-de-sac isn't going to get turned into, isn't going to get a lot of other accessory dwelling units put in throughout the.
Well, we could all have an
yeah,
accessory dwelling
that's
unit
true.
up to 800
Yeah.
square feet, but that's the case across the city.
Yeah.
Commissioner Biedner, were you going to say something?
No, I was just, I feel the same way. I think that this is a good path forward, and I would be in favor of it.
Madam Chair, if I may, before anybody makes a motion or moves towards a recommended action, just kind of hearing a few of the comments and kind of understanding probably the leaning of the Planning Commission. You can note that during the public hearing, there was rather substantial public comment, largely opposed to the rezoning action. Typically, it's not suggested that you use neighborhood opposition as a sole finding for a denial, but can certainly be a consideration that can be vocalized as part of a recommendation for a denial. So you can take it into consideration. It's not the only reason that you could propose a recommendation for denial. So think about that as you're verbalizing findings if you're going to move towards recommending denial.
Thank you.
Recommending denial of the rezoning request, to be clear.
Yeah, and just to be clear, my comment isn't reacting to a lot of people coming in here and saying they don't want to do that, right? Not my backyard kind of stuff. It has to do with, I think, consistency of states. Of city standards. If we say it's zoned this way, that there has to be extraordinary circumstances to change it. It's not really reacting just to having a lot of people here not wanting to do it.
So I'm making note of a couple findings or support, as Adam said. So consistency of city standards, I agree with you on that. Like, the rezoning seems like a large action. It seems exorbitant for one property to rezone this neighborhood to accommodate one property when there could be other impacts of that broad rezoning. This is only 14 units, but you have a neighborhood that's 2, 3, 4 times the size. You would have more units that you would open that up to. So this one's only 14 units, but it still is changing it for 14 units to accommodate this one unit's need. And so I think consistency of city standards and kind of the scale of that change to meet needs of one homeowner. We did, as Adam shared, we did hear feedback from the neighbors. We did have community presence at our last meeting, with majority of them opposed to the change because of what it would do. So as Adam kind of shared, that is supportive of some of those findings as well. Other thoughts on reasons for denial?
I guess I was not at a meeting last month, so.
I wasn't at the meeting last month. Didn't know about my microphone just till now. To me, just looking at it as, a person that's coming in after the fact of not being able to come to the meeting last month, the path of least resistance, I guess, if that's a good term, is a variance would solve or help the applicant do what they need to do. But like you said, the rezoning would be for the entire neighborhood. So I would be in support of the variance if you're just dealing with one particular circumstance here.
So another finding would be a denial because we have another path forward that of a variance that would address the applicant's need.
And I just don't think that R2 would be proposed if there wasn't this one property. Like, I don't think we would have a vision for that being an R2 on its own merit.
I would counter that by saying that, if there were these twin homes there when we rezoned it originally, hindsight being what it is 20 years later, nobody knows, but it could have been R2 at that point. And I understand, your point about there's some reliance there for people that bought in the last 5 or 10 years that this is the neighborhood they thought they were getting. But there, the alternative to that is to say, well, what if we were starting from scratch? What would we do? And I think if we were starting from scratch, it would be R2.
It was rezoned back when?
2006.
Okay, so yeah, it's hard to know back then because those other two properties are legal non-conforming. So they maybe there was a thought to do R1, so we didn't expand those duplexes in that area, but those properties that were there could exist. Yeah. Or to your point that maybe it was just simply missed. It's hard to go back the 20 years and think about what the city thoughts were at that time. But I struggle with the same thing of like, we wouldn't be sitting here if it was done that way. Why wasn't it done that way? I don't know. But then we've got these residents that would be impacted by the change. Anthony, did we have enough support for the denial or do you need more?
I think I can make that work.
Okay. So, and I don't know, Commissioner Ellis, you didn't really speak. I think you would be.
I would be in favor of the rezoning. I'd like staff to investigate a little bit more about the landowner question. If we can have any further guidance on whether there is anything to suggest that it has to be a current landowner versus a prior landowner. Otherwise, I'm not sure that. And this is something for next month. I'm not asking for this off the cuff, but I would struggle to approve the variance as it was written there with just those words without having a little bit more knowledge about what landowner means there. So that's my concern, is that yes, I agree the variance approach is more targeted. It doesn't have the impact on the other properties, but I'm not certain that I can get there as being effective.
Anthony, can you put those findings back up? Okay. And we're thinking about this as a size, so going from 800 to 1,000 square feet. I
think back to several months ago, we had a property that we were looking at, I believe. It was some question with a garage and a driveway and things, and we talked about the unique circumstances to the property which were not created by the landowner. And there we talked about it much more as a geographical having to do with the topography, whatever the adjective for that is. And this isn't that, right? This is something that was created by somebody who owned the land. And so again, my question would be if we have any more background on what the landowner means there. And we may well not, that it could be, you could be searching for something that doesn't exist, but that's my concern about going with the variance approach.
Anthony, is there an option to get input from the city attorney to make sure we're covered if we go that route? To make sure that Or does staff feel comfortable
Certainly,
making that? Like,
I would defer to Adam if you want to talk about our bringing in the city's attorney for insight into it. I think ultimately, again, it kind of boils down to the likelihood of this spreading across the city being a way of getting around our zoning code, I think is what your point really being. And then, which landowner is creating these unique circumstances? Is it a previous landowner? The same could be said about a developer that owns land and plats it in a certain way that forces a house to be placed somewhere, which was more to the topographical or dimensional standards there. Staff really does try to avoid the variance process if possible, and this is one of those cases where staff felt and found that the rezoning was the ideal and proper way to do it, but ultimately the decision is up to the city council, or in the case of a variance, the planning commission acting as the board of appeals.
Yeah, Madam Chair, Commissioner
Yes.
Ellis, another way to look at that too is that it is within the purview of, so speaking strictly on the variance request as the Planning Commission acting as the Board of Zoning and Appeals as a part of that, you do have significant leeway in your interpretation and application of the code there. So we can certainly consult with our attorney. I don't know if it provide us necessarily a more specific path to your point. I'm going to make a dangerous assumption that they'll say, well, it really depends on a couple of things and it's open to interpretation. It's really within the purview of this group unless challenged or decision is appealed. So that's not a great answer for you other than you are empowered to interpret and then apply the code as it is written.
Thank you.
I
Again-
feel like the rest of them, I feel pretty forward in terms of like in harmony with the purpose and intent, doesn't alter the essential character. I feel like those areas of the variance are pretty straightforward
I would
and can
agree.
be found. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So with that, do we want to start with a motion?
Yeah, I think if I got it right. So I would make a motion to recommend the city council deny an amendment to the Rosemount zoning map to rezone the properties in the Lan Oken subdivision from R1 low density residential to R2 low to medium density residential.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Reed, seconded by Commissioner Rivera. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
It has been approved with one commissioner, Commissioner Ellis, opposing the denial. So with that, it sounds like from the commission, we would request staff to move forward with a variance.
We will work
the
with
next
the
meeting.
applicant to submit a variance application and bring that forth to you at the next meeting.
Thank you.
One thing to just ask on the variance thing. So it is possible we could say no to that as well, though, correct?
Absolutely.
And then at that point, then it's really just about the previous owner having to figure it out.
The current
The
owner,
issue.
yeah. They could reduce the size of the dwelling unit to 800 square feet. That's an option. I don't think it's ideal. It's already built in the basement, but the process isn't done with the approval of variance. They still have to get their building permits and things like that, and rental license if that's how they want to move forward.
Okay. So for the public that's here tonight, if you were here for this item this evening, the commission has recommended to City Council to deny this request for a zoning change, and staff is going to bring forward a variance request at our next meeting on June 23rd. Anthony, that will be a public hearing then, correct?
There would be a public hearing for that variance request.
There will be a public hearing for that variance request. The variance is to allow an increase in square footage from 800 square feet to 1,000. So today, if it was 800 square feet, they would be fine and could do what they want to do. Because it's larger than that, it does need to be approved by that variance. The Planning Commission's decision that evening is a final decision. It does not go to City Council as a variance request, but there is a 10-day appeals period. So once we approve or deny it on June 23rd, there would be a 10-day appeals process, and anyone that wants to appeal the decision of the Planning Commission can do so by contacting the city offices. Okay, that concludes our old business this evening. Moving forward on to public hearings section, we've got proposed revisions to the City of Rosemount's zoning map. And Julia, I'll turn that over to you.
Alrighty. All right, so a little bit of a summary of the request in front of the Planning Commission tonight. So the Planning Commission is being asked to consider a rezoning request initiated by city staff to bring 2 parcels into alignment with both the city's land use map and also intended zoning classification. So city staff identified 2 parcels which are located at 15790 Canada Circle, which is where the Frannon Company's manufacturing plant is located, and then also 15401 Boulder Avenue, which is where the Home Depot warehouse and distribution facility is located, were incorrectly rezoned during the city's 2024 zoning code and map update process. So staff is recommending that those parcels be rezoned from I-1 PUD, General Industrial Plan Unit Development, to B2 PUD, which is Employment Plan Unit Development, to ensure consistency with between the land use designation and then also the adopted land use guidance. Kind of go over a little overview of the site location. So you can see that both properties are located off of Highway 3 and just north of County Road 46. And then little overview of the land use maps. You can see the land use designation for both sites are that BP Business Park. Little bit of overview though, which many of you were here for the zoning code update. So zoning code update and that map, some of those included a reduction in zoning districts, which was reduced from 21 to 13. So we did get rid of a couple zoning districts, which one of those include light industrial, which both of these properties were previously zoned light industrial PUD due to that outdoor storage component, which currently or previously the business park zoning district did not allow for outdoor storage. So that light industrial did allow for that outdoor storage, and so that is why those 2 sites were zoned that way. But a little overview of what's being proposed with the zoning map revision. So you can see on the left-hand side, it's currently zoned that I-1 PUD, and city staff is proposing to change that to B2 to make it more cohesive with the surrounding area, as that land use designation was planned for that business park. And I-1 is actually not an allowed use within the business park land use designation, so this would bring that area into compliance with what is allowed per the comprehensive plan and also the zoning code. So there is one recommendation in front of the Planning Commission today, which is to recommend the City Council approve rezoning of Lot 1, Block 1 BMR, and then Lot 1, Block 1 JJT Business Park Second Edition from I-1 PUD to B2 PUD. But I can take any questions that the Planning Commission may have on this item.
Thank you, Julia. You might have said this and I just missed it, but just to confirm, and I know these are PUD, so they're governed by their PUD anyways, but within B2, outdoor storage is now allowed.
Correct.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. And I apologize if you said that and I
No,
missed it.
yep. So now that outdoor component is allowed within that B2 zoning district, which was changed with that zoning code update in 2024.
Perfect. Thank you. Are there any other questions for Julia?
I was just saying this has no bearing to these businesses that obviously are having outdoor storage. It doesn't change a thing. It just changes it on the mapping.
Correct. Yes. Just to bring it the area into compliance. Again, these were incorrectly rezoned to general industrial. It was supposed to be that business park, as that area was planned for the business park usage. And staff did reach out to the property owners to just let them know that that staff was initiating that change to make the land use designation in that whole area be cohesive with that business park use that it was planned for.
And because they're governed by a PUD, that governs what that is anyway. Is
correct. Yep, that PUD
are.
overlay still stands with both properties. Yeah.
Okay.
As I was reading through the packet, it says there's
4 criteria that the city has to consider when evaluating rezoning request. And I see consistency with the comprehensive plan, compatibility with present and future land uses, conformance with zoning standards, and then the 4th criteria isn't listed in the packet. I don't suspect that there's anything. I'm just
No,
curious what
there's
it is.
not. That was
Okay.
an oversight.
Okay.
Yeah. But it meets all the criteria, even with dimensionals. It still meets B2. Everything was, that light industrial was cohesive with the business park. It was just with that rezoning, the city got rid of light industrial, and these were incorrectly changed to general industrial instead of that B2 employment with that change.
Okay.
So,
And a downfall of not doing this would mean that those properties would stay as general industrial, and if at some point that property owner moved, then that property would be sitting there as general industrial in the middle of our business park.
correct.
Yeah,
Right.
that's what I was thinking too.
Yeah, it's good to clean it up.
Yep.
Is there any other, like, obviously this was something that was missed when we did the zoning. It was a large amount of work and a huge project, but has there been a review of other properties? Is there anything else that we might have missed? Staff looked at that.
Staff did bring a couple forward back at the end of 2024. If you remember correctly, there was a couple misre zones on the east side of Highway 52 and then also on the west side of 52, which we did clean up. But as of right now, these were the only ones that came to staff's attention that were incorrectly rezoned. Otherwise, staff is not aware of anything else that's incorrect currently on the updated zoning map.
Okay, yeah, I just know we had done some before and
Yep.
now some, so try and get it all done.
What is the little sliver of blue?
I was gonna say it looks smaller.
That is right of way. I was kind of surprised to see that as well, as our GIS department had changed that. Anthony, are you aware of what that would be? It's public.
Was that public institutional?
Yeah.
It's a remnant right of way
Yeah.
from the old alignment of Highway 3.
So it's
I think it's just a
yeah.
part of the shape file that the GIS team has
'Cause that-
used.
That's on the more of the outside of the actual Home Depot parcel itself.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's like median or
Yeah.
ditch.
So are we changing that though? Because it's bigger on the one map, the current map, than the proposed map.
I believe it was, like Anthony had stated, more of a shape file. We are
Shapefile?
strictly
Okay.
changing the legal
So-
description of the
Okay.
properties.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions?
No, I was just going to say the right of way distance is still going to be the same
Correct.
for that. Okay.
Yes.
Any other questions?
No.
Okay. This item is a public hearing item, so at this time we will open up the public hearing. Anyone in the audience that would like to speak may do so at this time, coming to the podium, stating your name and address for the record. Seeing no one currently in our audience this evening any longer, I will make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
It has been moved by Commissioner Kenninger, seconded by Commissioner Bugai. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Public hearing is now closed. So with that, we could entertain a motion for this item.
I'll make a motion to recommend the city council approve the rezoning of Lot 1, Block 1 BMR and Lot 1, Block 1 JJT Business Park Second Edition from I-1 PUD General Industrial Planned Unit Development to B2 PUD Employment Planned Unit Development.
Second.
It has been moved by Commissioner Bugai, seconded by Commissioner Ellis. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. This item will move forward to City Council on June 16th. Thank you. I didn't have it written down. Also, our previous item will also move forward for the denial of the rezoning will move forward to City Council on June 16th as well. Is there any new business this evening?
I have the Rosemount Armory is going to have a ribbon cutting on Thursday at 10 o'clock.
Okay. Is there any
There's no new business.
No new business. Okay. Any other discussion items?
Madam Chair, I did have one update for the Planning Commission. Your next meeting on June 23rd.
Yes.
We may be requesting that you have a joint work session along with the City Council prior to your 6:30 meeting at either a 5 or 5:30 start. Potential residential developer looking at large concept plan on the east side of Highway 52 is requesting concept plan review, and that would be a good opportunity for the Council and Planning Commission to hear that concept. So that was the recommendation that kind of came out of staff meetings with the developer, would be to have a work session, a joint meeting of the council and planning commission. So tentatively June 23rd at either a 5 or a 5:30 p.m. start work session.
Thank you. If anyone has conflicts with that and is not able to make it, please let Liz know, Liz and Adam know right away. Anything else for discussion? No? Okay. So as Adam shared, our next meeting is June 23rd, and they'll keep us posted on a 5 or 5:30 start. And then we've got July 28th. I will be absent the July 28th meeting, and then August 25th. And so if anyone else is going to be absent in an upcoming meeting, please let Liz and Adam know right away. Anything else this evening? Okay, I will adjourn the meeting. Meeting adjourned.